Welcome to the channel. We shall be discussing today an important topic regarding a speedometer quality assurance, and that is ingress protection testing for analog and digital speedometers, which is related to entry or penetration of foreign substances. It specifically refers to solid particles entering a device like dust, sand, and debris, plus liquids entering a device, that is water, oil, and moisture. So when we say ingress protections, we are describing how well an enclosure prevents outside contaminants from entering inside. Ingress is therefore anything from the outside getting inside the device. A IP test measures how effectively a product stopped this from happening. Ingress protection testing checks how well a speedometer is sealed against dust and water. The test uses different standard codes like IP5X, IP6X, Ingress Protection X4, IPX7, etc. from the IEC 60529 standards. This test is crucial because speedometers are mounted and are exposed on the motorcycles and scooter, etc. dashboard, which are subject to rain, pressure washing, dust, mud, and humidity. High-speed airflow that can push particles into the enclosures. Understanding the IP rating formats. The IP rating has two digits, that is IP X and Y. X refers to dust protection and Y refers to water protection. For example, IP65 refers to dust tide 6 plus protected against water jets 5. IP67 dust tide 6 plus protected from immersion, that is 7. Common IP ratings for motorcycle speedometer. One is IP54, that is limited dust plus splashing waters, and this is minimum standards. IP65, dust tide plus water jets. This is common for rugged motorbikes. और सबसे stringent standard क्या है? IP67 in this case, it is dust tide plus temporary immersion into 1 meter depth of water for 30 minutes time. This is standard is applicable to high-end or off-road motorcycles. The IP code is defined as IEC 60529, protection of enclosures against solids and liquids. For road vehicles, specific tests including high pressure, high temperature jets, and K classes. Use ISO 20653, harmonized with IP system, includes IP6, K, 9K, etc. The high pressure, high temperature spray commonly used for vehicle is reference, referenced as IPX9, IP69K, IP6K, 9K, and ISO 20653 that test parameters for against pressure, temperature, nozzle distance, and duration are defined in these documents. Which IP rating should be a speedometer target? Instrument cluster inside closed cabin like cars. Here the speedometers are inside. They are not exposed to the external environment. Therefore, usually IP5X, IP54 to IP55 is common for dust water splash, but instrument clusters are often protected by the dashboard and HVAC. Its exposure to jets is possible, engine by excess, specify IP67 for short immersion resistance. Then come to motorcycle scooter, external dash exposed to rain, wash road jets. These are exposed, which over here we use IP67 minimum and IP6K, 9K or IP69K. Preferred preferred where high pressure wash where high purpose wash downs, rain and road spray are routine. Many OEMs require IPK, IP6K9K or external lights and instruments. And then coming to marine and off-road use, specify IP67, IP68, IP6K9K, depending upon submersion or high pressure wash requirements. If you need a single recommendation for motorcycle speedometer, IP6K9K gives the most robust protection for dust plus high pressure with hot water. Test types and what they actually do. Practical summary. Dust test IP5X, IP6X. Place the unit in a dust chamber. Check that no harmful dust ingress occurs. IP6S is dust tight. Water spray test. IP3, IPX6. Simulated rain. Spray powerful jets at different intensities and angles. Immersion test IPX7, IPX8. Immersion in water at defined depth and time used when submersion risk exists. And finally, high pressure, high temperature water jets IPX9, IP69K, or IP6K9K for powerful hot water jets to simulate pressure washers. For a commercial washdown, parameters include 80 to 90 bar pressure, elevated temperature 80 degrees centigrade, specified flow and nozzle distance and angles. These are the most severe water tests used for vehicles. How to run a meaningful IP test on speedometer? Practical checklist. Before test, use production equivalent units, not specially made units. Same housing, gaskets, connectors, cable glands, lens, sealants, etc. Mount unit in its service on a panel or bracket and orient as installed. If the unit has vent, breather membranes, measure they are fitted as in production. Power the unit and run the operation bolt, display needle active where possible. Many standards required powered operation for IPX9K. Or pair during test, run the specified IP sequence, dust chamber if required, then water jets immersion as per the target IP rating. For IP6K, 9K, oblique IP69K, use manufacturer's oblique ISO parameters for nozzle pressure, nozzle distance, temperature, angles, and duration. When the test is conducted, after test, what are the immediate checks? First check, functional check. Confirm speedometer electronics, illuminations, backlighting, needle move, sensor interface, and accuracy remains within specs. Check input versus indicated speed if possible. Then check visual ingress check. Open the case if destructive inspection is allowed or inspect connector pin area, PCB, LCD, stepper motor, cable entry for moisture or dust. The third thing to check is condensation check. Allow 24 to 48 hours at ambient and recheck for delayed condensation or corrosion. Fourth check, which is important, is electrical check. In case of digital speedometer, for example, insulation resistance, leakage current, and short circuit, etc. And finally, accuracy check. Run the speed and confirm indicated speed accuracy. Water ingress can affect sensor, stepper motors, and can cause drift. Acceptance criteria: no harmful ingress, no functional failures, no shorting, no corrosion, and no visible contamination in critical areas. If it is so, standard defines harmful effects refer to IEC ISO language. Pass-fail criteria: the speedometer will be considered as pass if device remains fully functional during and after a test. No water, dust in areas that cause failure, no change in accuracy behind agreed tolerance, no corrosion, and low leakage to PCB or connected area. And it will be considered fail in case of any electrical malfunction, visible water or dust in electronics or behind lens that affects operation, insulation leakage, or loss of accuracy outside specified limit. Define numeric tolerance for accuracy. For example, plus minus 2% or plus minus 2 km per hour for the functional pass-fail criteria. What are the common failure mode specific to speedometers? The common failures are lens seal failures, connector cable gland leak path, then breather vent membrane missing or blocked, and finally ink PCB corrosion. And then other failure modes could be potting or conformal coating gaps, mechanical shaft entry, that is mechanical cable and a leakage dynamic seal needed for rotating shafts, and then thermal cycling causes seal relaxation, that is, seals compressed at assembly but relaxes over time. क्या आप इम्प्रूवमेंट कर सकते हैं डिजाइन एंड असेंबली कंट्रोल टू इम्प्रूव IP performance? Use elastomer gasket with proper shore hardness and controlled gland to ensure repeatable compression. Breather membrane, hydrophobic oil resistance to equalize pressure while blocking liquid ingress. Overmolding or sealed connectors, or use second cable entries with proper strain relief. Use IP67 or IP6K9K rated connectors. And then conform conformal skirt or IP-rated potting on PCB edges where possible, but reserve serviceability if required. Further, design and assembly control to improve IP performance of speedometer are proper surface finish and edge radii on mating surfaces to avoid gasket nibbling. Choose seal materials compatible with ultraviolet, oils, fuels, cleaning fluids, and temperature range. Design for drainage paths. Validate with vibration plus thermal cycling prior to IP testing. Seals can fail under vibration and thermal stress. Test planning and sampling strategy. Qualification. Test multiple samples, not one sample, including worst case assembly, that is 3 or 5 units. Test full production configuration. Number 2. Routine protection. Sample per batch and retest after process change, that is glue, gasket, supplier change, new molding, tooling, etc. Then field returns. Replicate field exposure. Use IP test to validate failure cause. Then correlate lab IP test with real world test. That is road exposure, wash cycle, salt spray for stronger validation. What are the extra checks for speedometers beyond IP standards? That is number 1. Functional accuracy under water exposure. Confirm stepper motor drive and speed input remain within specifications. Long-term condensation test. Humidity chamber cycling plus dew point checks. Third extra check for speedometer is salt contamination checks. If vehicle operates in marine salted roads, check for ionic residue after water testing. High pressure cleaning repeatability. Test multiple cycles to simulate repeated washing. The references used for standards are IEC 60529, ISO 20653, Practical IP 6K 9K or IP 69K, and finally IP code. Quick recommendations for one line. One line recommendation is for motorcycle and scooter speedometer and scooter speedometers. We recommend designing and qualifying to IP6K 9K or IP69K. This standard is for dust type plus high pressure hot water and running functional checks during and after test, that is accuracy display and current draw, etc. For in-cab automotive cluster, IP67 is enough, which is usually sufficient unless external exposure washdown is expected. The dust ingress testing, the test objective is check that dust does not enter the casing and affect mechanical or electronic components. The test setup includes conducted a test. This is sample test record. Conducted a test in a dust chamber using a talcum powder. Air pressure applied to simulate suction into housing if not sealed. Duration 8 hours for IP5X or until vacuum cycle completes. The pass and fail criteria is we recorded the observation and in case of analog speedometer, no dust affects needle movement and in case of digital, no dust on PCB LCD connectors. In case of analog speedometers, internal gears are not jammed, and in case of digital speedometer, display and button are still functional. Regarding water ingress testing, how the testing was done. Confirm water does not enter the water housing into the housing during number one case rain, washing with water jets, submersion if applicable. So in case of IP X4 level, flashing from any direction, 10 minutes time, then oscillating tube or spray nozzle. In case of IPX5, low pressure water jets from 6.3 millimeter nozzle. The test is for 3 minutes at the rate of 12.5 liter per minute for 3 meter distance. Then IP6, high pressure water jets from 12.5 millimeter nozzle. The time is 3 minutes. The water flow is 100 liters per minute from a distance of 3 meters. IP6, IPX7 is immersion of speedometer at 1 meter depth for 30 minutes time. It is submerged. Then pass-fail criteria, if we get the result, if there is no fogging under lens, it is pass. No short circuit or reset in case of digital speedometers. In case of analog speedometer, needle mechanism unaffected. And in case of digital LCD readable, no watermarks. In case of analog speedometer, no rust or corrosion, and in case of digital, connectors are dry and intact. Inspection after IP testing. Open unit if required for inspection. Check seals. Check internal printed circuit boards. Signs for oxidation or condensation. In case of seals, rubber gaskets, adhesive, joints, and O-rings. And display. Fogging or water droplets under lens. Mechanical operation. Ensure needle moves freely. Difference in IP testing for analog and digital speedometers. Number one, PCB and circuit risk. Analog low unless hybrid with electronics odometer. In case of digital speedometers, high corrosion short circuit risk. And LCD LED lens fogging. In case of analog, lens fogging still an issue, and in case of digital, it is a key concern. Button seals, rare, usually mechanical knobs only, often present and tested. Display degradation, analog dial stays readable unless fogged, and digital LCD can become unreadable if water enters. Now, coming to real-world IP testing example, a manufacturer tests a digital speedometer at IP67. In case of IP67, dust chamber run for 8 hours, immersion test in 1 meter water tank for 30 minutes, post-test unit is disassembled, and it is observed that LCD is clear, no water marks on PCB, odometer retains data, and connector pins are dry and untarnished. The result is pass. Summary table, dust sensitivity. For the analog speedometer, it's moderate and gear and dial. And dust sensitivity for digital speedometer, it is high, related to PCB display. Water sensitivity, for in case of analog speedometer, it is low to moderate, and in case of digital speedometer, it is high because of electronic risk. IP ratings typically used for analog speedo, it is IP54 to IP65. And in case of digital, it is IP54 to IP67, that is slightly tighter. Most common failure in case of analog speedometers are fogging and rust, and in case of digital speedometer, the common failures are LCD failure and corrosion. IP text results to be recorded for motorcycle speedometers for both analog and digital following IEC 60529 guidelines, Ingress production test, checklist for motorcycle speedometers, component detail. You should record and enter all the data, that is test ID report number, common types, model part number, manufacturers, date of testing, test lab or location, inspector name. Whether you are testing analog or digital speedometer, check mark wherever it is applicable. Dust ingress test solid, first digit of IP rating. Therefore, you have to complete all the list and a record after the result. Requested rating, for example, IG, IP5X, IP6X. Dust type, which is whether it is talcum powder or test dust, A4. Duration, what is the duration? Check mark, 8 hours or until vacuum is achieved. Applied vacuum, if it is okay, and then the vacuum and the pressure level. Test temperature, humidity in centigrade and relative humidity in percentage. What is the result? Check mark whether pass or fail. What are the visual findings? Dust inside casing, fogging, or it is clean. Needle movement in case of analog speedometer, it is free, it is jammed or stuck. PCB digital, whether it is normal or it is affected, and finally notes by the inspector or whoever, the gentleman, whoever was responsible for testing. Like dust ingress, water ingress test is to be, data sheet is to be recorded accordingly. That is, what was the requested rating, e.g. IPX4 or IPX7, the type of test, for example, splashing, water jet, or immersion, nozzle type and water pressure, the diameter of nozzle in millimeter and water pressure in bars. What is the flow rate of water in liter per minute? The test duration in minutes, distance from units in meters, and water temperature in centigrade. And after the test, it is to be recorded whether it is pass and fail. And it is also to be recorded LCD display fogging, whether it was none or there was some present. Physical damage, none, cracks or warping. Odometer data, retention. The data is retained or data was lost. Internal water, whether it is dry, whether it's a moist or it is wet. And then connectors and a terminal, they are clean or corroded. And the note of the inspector who had conducted this test. Check whichever is applicable. Check the photo documentation of all the tests. That is, pre-test, when you have recorded, you have to attach the photographs and check mark whether yes or no. During test in chamber or rig, post-test exterior, yes. Post-test internal, if open, yes or no, whichever is applicable. Final assessment, if dust ingress tolerance, mechanical, electronic, record whether it's a pass or fail. Water resistance, functional, all features, okay, it's pass or fail. Appearance and seal integrity, pass or fail. Overall IP test result, pass or fail. And finally, the inspector remarks. When the report is completed, sign off by test engineer, quality representative, design validation and lead. And finally, optional attachments could be IEC 60529 test method reference, equipment calibration certificates, and raw chamber logs. Now, let us explain a little bit about meaning of IP6K, 9K, and IP69K before we conclude these discussions. These are the Ingress production ratings defined under ISO 20653 automotive standard, not the regular IEC 60529. They describe dust protection and high pressure water resistance for harsh automotive environment for motorcycles, off-road vehicles and trucks, etc. Breakdown of IP 6K 9K, dust protection 6, dust tight 6, no dust ingress allowed even in vacuum conditions. K is automotive enhanced requirement. K mean the rating follows ISO 20653, which is stricter than normal IEC testing. 9K is high pressure, high temperature water jets. Coming to IP 9K, water pressure up to 100 bar, water temperature 80 degree centigrade, distance 10 to 15 centimeter, spray angle 0, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Component is rotated on a turntable. Designed for road splash, pressure washing, rainstorm, vibration, engine heat, etc. Number 2, IP69K without 6K. That is, IP69K alone focuses on high pressure hot water protection similar to above. It does not automatically mean dust tight unless required with 6. So what is IPK6K9K? It means dust protection 6K complete protection against all dust and suitable for off-road, desert and dusty environment. Water protection 9K can withstand steam jet cleaning, pressure wasting and heavy storm. This is one of the highest levels of environmental protection in automotive electronics. Why use these for speedometers? Because motorcycle, rickshaws, scooters, ATV, and even tractors face mud plus dust, heavy rain, pressure washing in service stations, vibration plus heat, road splash from tires, water jets during assembly and maintenance. Therefore, OEM specify IP6K9K, IP69K, so the speedometer remains safe and reliable in all weather and cleaning conditions. Sample interpretation IP6K dust tight ISO automotive sand, dust, cement, and road dust. It is protects against these items. IP69, IP9K, high pressure hot water jets. For example, service station, wash, steam jets, etc. IP69K, same as IP9K, IEC ISO formal, ensure full waterproofing. So, summary IP6K, 9K, IP69K. The unit is fully dustproof and can survive high pressure, high temperature water jets from all angles. This is the highest production level used for motorcycle and automobile instrument clusters. With this, we conclude our today's discussion on the subject of IP on the subject of Ingress production test against dust and water. Stay tuned and don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to receive the similar contents in future too. Thank you and thank you very much.